In the morning sun, where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello, plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our Monday live Q&A. We do these every single Monday on so many different platforms, so whatever platform you're on right now is the platform we're going to be on next week. And this is a time that we've dedicated to answer all of your gardening questions, anything and everything, whether you just want to get maybe a couple of ideas and inspiration for a coastal style garden that you're about to plant, or maybe you're having problems with a particular tree, it's not looking so great, or maybe you just want to sit back and just learn more from all the other questions being asked today. So how it works is all you need to do is just comment your question and we will answer it in live time here right now. We go for about half an hour, so try and get your questions in quickly. If we don't get to it, you can always come next Monday or always email or call us. So we are very excited to answer all of your gardening questions, and we would really appreciate it if you did share this with your loved ones, anyone who wants to get more into gardening, anyone who might be having some plant problems that they just can't seem to fix. Do share it with them. We would really appreciate it. How are you doing today, Chris?
Great, thanks.
Excited to answer some questions?
Yeah.
Amazing. And we are also doing other lives. So we do this Q&A every Monday, and then we'll do a more lecture style live on the Tuesday. As of yet, we're still discussing what we're going to be doing for Tuesday's live. Have we locked it in yet?
Yeah, we're doing the sort of fundamental, showing how I resolve problems relating to garden design. So what we'll do is we'll take 7 of the most common problems that people are asking about at the moment, or the most common situations that people are wanting a design based around. And I'll be going through the process of what it takes to get that design the way they want it and achieve what they want.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, so we just wanted to show you just how resourceful Chris can be and how much knowledge he has, so you know that you're in safe hands when you book a garden design with us. And also it's free, like you're not really expending barely any money or energy or time. You can do a garden design as quick as 15 minutes is our smallest
that's right.
consult?
But I think some people will be able to even resolve their own garden design problems by following through my process. What I'm going to be revealing is my process. What questions do I ask? Because I basically, for each situation, I have a series of questions that I'll ask to pinpoint exactly what the solution is. And so some people will be able to design themselves after they've had a listen.
Exactly, and to have just a little sneak peek of one of the questions we're going to be answering, we're going to chat about people who have gardens that have quite a lot of shade in them because of 2-story houses that you're next to, units that you're next to. We're going to be tackling that problem and what Chris does to help with those kind of shady areas.
Yeah, that's right, and that shade is a problem that, as land becomes more compacted and people building up more, more and more customers almost every day are dealing with shade issues. So we'll be tackling the shade, and also the other situation that a lot of people have is where it goes shade to hot sun, and you want to have the one thing all the way through, and there's not that many things. It'll take deep shade and hot sun and look kind of the same all the way through. But I'll be talking about that sort of thing.
Exactly, so get excited for that. Tomorrow, 12 p.m, I believe, we'll be posting all the promotional stuff on our socials. But let's get right into it. We got a couple questions here. And comment as many as you want, make it as niche as you want, as specific. That is what we are here for today. All right, let's start off with Serena's question. I'm growing 3 black diamond watermelon plants and they have flowers but no fruit. Should I remove flowers to encourage fruit production?
What you need is pollination. And so I do a little Googling and work out how to pollinate them.
Okay.
And work out so it's not, and And once you start pollinating them, you don't want too many pollinated flowers because that'll overtax your plant. But what I'd do is I wouldn't remove flowers, I'd work on pollination, and then I might thin out the fruit if I get too many fruit forming.
Yeah. Could it also be a thing about time? Maybe it just takes a little bit more time for the watermelon to start fruiting?
Well, I haven't studied pollination of watermelon, so it'd be something that someone would have worked out, and I just study up on that, and you'll have the solution.
Yep.
So Google pollinating watermelons.
Great. All right. Next question is from Ishigar. I have a bunch of tubes stocked to plant in clay soil, Photinia red robin, Morea, Camellia blush. What should I add to the soil in addition to gypsum when planting?
I use potting mix, and potting mix will break. Clay's actually good stuff. It's millions of years old. It's got lots of minerals and things in it, but it's got something wrong with it. What's wrong with it? Generally, clay is made up of very fine particles that all squish tightly together, and the roots have trouble getting through. So if you can give the roots access through the clay, you're on a gold mine. So basically, if you get your clay and you chop it all up and then mix some good quality potting mix through it, that's a great start.
Great. And this is a question from actually one of the comments on our video, one of our videos, and they were asking, how do you make a curved garden bed?
That's what a great thing is. Well, the thing is getting the shape right, and I reckon a garden hose is fabulous, because garden hose don't sort of kink, they sort of have nice slow bends in them, and often by bending a garden hose round and shuffling around a garden hose you can get the look right. And then the simplest thing you can do is you can do what, if you went to the Melbourne Botanic Gardens, or probably any botanic gardens in Australia, no one will have budgeted for fancy garden edging. What they'll have is they'll have what I call a cut garden edge. Now, my parents did 5 acres of garden when I was a kid, and we did a lot of the work. And basically, we just used a sharp stainless steel spade, and we would just chop around the edge. So that my mum would have made the shape, and then we just chop around the edge, and you just chop, and then you just rake up the mess. And what happens? The grass keeps oozing over, and 2 or 3 times a year, just chop around the edge. Now, what's great about that is that, say, a lot of people are putting in those steel garden edges, the rusty steel ones, and they cost hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And what's disappointing to me is that for people who perhaps haven't got a big budget, they often don't do a garden or don't do a nicely shaped garden because they feel they can't afford the edging. But with a cut edging, it's just a matter of a nice sharp spade and a bit of time. And then perhaps and a good way of doing it is mark out the shape with get the shape right with the garden hose, look at it from different angles and make sure it looks good from every angle. Then you could mark it with a bit of spray paint, then you get your sharp spade and you just cut it and cut it out and cut. If you cut nice and square and do a nice job, those edges are really, really smart. And if you don't believe me, go to the Botanic Gardens and look at the beautiful edges there, and consider that those edges have cost nothing but labour, and in some cases they'll be 100 years old.
Amazing. Sounds pretty good to me. All right, next question is from Anne. I have planted 2 Prunas Niagara flowering plum in front of the house. It was planted in January, and till now it does not have flowers or leaves yet. What care do I need to give it?
What variety was it?
It was a flowering plum, 2 Prunas Niagara.
Prunus niagara, right, okay. So Prunus niagara, what's good about Prunus niagara is that they're really, really hard to kill. Every so often, I'll be driving in the country and you'll see one in the middle of nowhere, a big old one in the middle of nowhere, and what you'll know is that there was perhaps a house or something there once, and the house is gone, the garden's gone, everything's gone, but the Prunus niagara will still be there. So the great thing about Prunus niagara is persistence.
Okay.
Now, what I would do at this time of year is I get rid of the grass and weeds, we cultivate around the base, get rid of the grass and weeds, and it's about to take off and go again, so I'd put a nice dose of Osmocote around it. And the thing with Prunus niagara is they do lose their leaves rather early in the season, and that's why it's been sort of naked and not doing anything for a long time. But it's about, and what will happen now is you'll have lovely pale pink blossoms on your Prunus niagara in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and then just as those blossoms start to fade, you'll get beautiful, almost black foliage appear, and then once it's all out, it'll turn purple, and they really look fabulous from now till about end of January, middle of February, and then they sort of fade a little bit. But great thing because they got blossom and dark purple foliage, and really fabulous because they're persistent. When you go up the country, you'll see lots of councils who use them as street trees. You know, in towns like Shepparton or Bendigo, they're a popular street tree.
Amazing. So yeah, keep us updated, Anne. Give it another 3 weeks. Do what Chris just told you to do, and let's see if your flowering plum starts to look beautiful. And if not, ask us again, and we'll try and troubleshoot and see if there's anything else going on. All right. Next question is from 24K Goldman, saying, I cut back my conifers to brown anyway. I cut back my conifers to brown. Any way to get them back, or should I cut them down?
Well, it really depends on what type of conifers they are. There's basically 2 families of conifer. Well, there's more than one, but there's in the sense of shooting, there's two families. So say it's like a biota, which is a little round golden one, or it's a juniper, like a Spartan or something like that. What they have is that in the bark, they have little buds, and those buds can spring back to life. So I've seen people chainsaw off, it was actually a Thuja plicata, which is a western red cedar. I've seen a giant one that filled a whole front garden, chainsawed back to a little ball. A little ball maybe 5 or 6 foot tall and 3 or 4 foot round, and I thought that'll never shoot again. And I went past that house a year later, and it was the most beautiful. It went from being just timber to a beautiful green ball. But if you were to able to tell me what sort it is, I can tell you whether it's one with auxiliary buds. So your Leighton's green, lots of them have got auxiliary buds, and then your Cupressus are the ones that don't have auxiliary buds. So when you cut, like you often see where they've gone along and they've cut the power lines back, you know, the cypresses near the power lines back, and they'll stay bald for the next 50 years because there's no little buds there, you know.
That's not good.
So really, if I knew what it was, I could tell you about its ability to regenerate.
Goldman, so if you could just comment below exactly what type of conifer it is, and we can give you a bit more of a specific answer to that. We're going to move on, but we will come back to you, Goldman, when you give us more details. The next question is from Zad. Is there a blossoming type plant that I can grow in a big pot?
Yeah, there's lots of, and you know, the Japanese do lots of bonsais, but let me think about that for a sec. What would I do? We've just been talking about plums. Just trying to think what would be a blossoming thing that would look good all year round. I think a Prunus albans, for instance, fabulous in blossom, but maybe a little bit boring in summer. Just trying to think what would kind of give you a... I think you might really want to go with a cherry, because cherries, if you look after them, will go right through and give you nice autumn colour, whereas I was thinking the plums really sort of fade away through the season and don't look that great in autumn. So probably a cherry, and maybe something like a Kanzan, a Mount Fuji or Shimizu Sakura. And what you want is you want a low, if you're ordering one from your local nursery, get a low grafted one. So you want it grafted down nice and low, and that way you can have the blossom and have it all sort of fairly compact and neat. And actually I just thought of one then. There's one called First Blush, and First Blush has a fairly small leaf and could be trimmed and kept quite compact, and a massive impact of amazing pink blossom. So I think probably cherries, because of the autumn colour factor and the fact that they keep their foliage nicely all through the season with a little bit of care, I think a cherry would be the go. Yeah,
amazing. All right, next question from Mitchell. What do you believe is the best slow release fertiliser?
I use a lot of Osmocote, and I'm not sure whether it's the best. It was the first on the market. My dad started using it when I was a little kid, and it's a very good product, and it's evolved over the years, and you can get it for various day lengths. Various different sort of various different lengths of application, like a 3-month, a 6-month, a 12-month, and because of our hot climate, it doesn't really tend to last quite as long as what they say. Like it's in summer, it releases more quickly. So you might put it on a bit more often than what they say. In the cool months, it's probably a little bit slow. But I guess I've been using Osmocote for many, many years, and I kind of like Osmocote.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Keep it with the classics. All right. Next question is from Hack Hacker. Is crown of thorns okay to grow all over the backyard?
Which is that?
Is crown of thorns okay to grow all over the backyard?
I think crown of thorns is a terrible blight on the barrier reef, and if you could put it in your backyard instead of having it on the reef, it probably would be an advantage.
So is that a yes or is that a no?
Yes.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see. Next question from Ken. What is the lowest maintenance screening hedge? I like Portuguese laurel as it's only one trim a year, whereas Leighton's green requires more. Do you have any other posh looking hedges that are low maintenance?
Okay, so I kind of like Escallonias, and Escallonias are good because Escallonias are a bush and not a tree, and so you can. And what I love about them is that they flower heaps. There's one that's a bit rare called Macranthera, which is a large growing one with a pink flower, and one called Ivy Eye, which we have in the nursery and sell all the time. And Ivy Eye has a beautiful dark green glossy leaf and a white flower, and it only grows about 2 meters tall. And so I've seen Escallonia hedges that nobody ever trims because it's only a bush. It can grow up to its full size. And another one that only grows, 2.5, maybe 3 meters is your snow maiden. And your snow maiden is fairly upright, so as long as you didn't need a terribly narrow hedge, you could plant and have a beautiful flowering snow maiden hedge or Escallonia ivy eye, both really hardy, tough plants. And say you had a biggish block on a country garden, you didn't mind having a bit of width in your hedge, they'd be two that you could plant and almost never trim.
Yeah, nice. 2 good options there. All right, next question. Taylor, what's a good feature tree? There's a lot of good feature trees.
Yeah, now, what I'm dealing with now a lot is people are coming to me and the blocks are getting smaller and smaller, and the houses are getting bigger and bigger, which means that the gardens are getting smaller at a rapidly increasing rate. So people come to me with little tiny courtyards, little tiny front gardens, and they want to have a tree, and they've only got room for one tree. Now, in the old days, what we'd do is we'd put 6 or 7 trees in the front garden, and you could have one for blossom and one for autumn colour and one for lovely evergreen foliage. But now, we're very often faced with a situation where the customer only has room for 1 or 2 trees, and choosing the tree becomes really, really difficult. And I guess, given that the conditions are okay, I'll tell you a couple of my favourite trees and why they're my favourite trees. I love Sinkaki maple, and Sinkaki maple, what's interesting, if you get Sinkaki maple and you Google Sinkaki maple and then press on images and get all the images up at once, you'll think that you've made some terrible mistake, because you'll see all these amazing colours, red stems, red and green, you'll see all this amazing colour. But actually, when you look at it, 99% of all those photos are just the Sinkaki at different times of the year. So Sinkaki, colour every day of the year, nice compact tree, doesn't have terrible roots. So in that modern situation of the small garden where choosing that tree is important, there's only room for one tree, Sinkaki is fabulous. The next thing I love is your crepe myrtle. And your crepe myrtle, and I've got a few that I really like Sue is a lovely soft pink, and it's not very big. But what I love about crepe myrtles is that they have beautiful bark. And so even when they're naked in the winter, I stopped and photographed one in a garden the other day, and it was completely naked, and normally your naked tree doesn't look that good, but it just looked absolutely fabulous, beautiful grasses around the base, and it's that beautiful bark. And so it can hold its own even when it's got no leaves. Then in leaf, you've got this beautiful shapely, sort of got that sort of Asian feel, lovely feel to it, lovely sort of round top, multi-stem, they look really good. And then in the heat of summer, when everything else is quit flowering, suddenly your crepe myrtle is a massive the colour of your choice. You can get white, soft pinks, purples, mauves, and so massive colour of your choice in the heat of summer. And the flowers go on for weeks and weeks and weeks, and you're just starting to get those cool nights when the flowers finish. And right at that point, you start to get them turning in colour, and they colour for weeks and weeks and weeks. So crepe myrtles, one of the most underrated and best small trees, and there's some very small ones available, and there's some medium-sized ones and larger ones available, so there's a crepe myrtle for everyone. But also, if it's hot and sunny, if it's windy, if the soil's poor, your crepe myrtle is not as fussy, say, as your maple. So crepe myrtles, and you choose the right one for the job, but crepe myrtles give you year-round attraction, and really good in that situation where you've only got room for one or two great feature trees.
Well, what if, so Taylor's just given us a little bit more context and said it's for a large acreage block out in the front yard. Would you still have given the same answers, or would you?
No.
Okay, well, if anyone's listening wanting a feature tree for a small garden, there's some good options, but what are we going to say about a large block?
Large block.
In the front yard.
In the front yard. So I'll give you two that I really like. One is a Japanese elm, or a Zelkova, and I love Zelkovas because some trees sit there for a couple of years before they take off and really start growing, and a Zelkova starts to grow about 10 minutes after you plant it, and they grow like crazy. So given a bit of water, fertiliser, a bit of cultivation around the base, you can grow a very big Zelkova in no time. They have an amazing, delicate looking fine foliage, as delicate and beautiful as a Japanese maple, but tough, one of the toughest trees around. They're as tough as your white cedar, or as tough as your Chinese elm, but much, much prettier. And then in autumn, you've got the most beautiful, glorious autumn colour, and it's a nice spreading tree. So lots of horizontal sort of branches. Grow it as an avenue, just grow it out in the middle of a paddock. But Zelkova, really fabulous. And then another one that's really caught my attention. I've noticed I'm starting to see a lot of them as I do deliveries out in the country, and that is your Sensation Maple. Now the reason why your Sensation Maple, fast, tough, its relatives, they planted, I think, 15 million of them or something like that to cure the Dust Bowl problem in Oklahoma at the turn of the last century. So that, like, they, in a dust bowl where the land was blowing away, they were tough enough to sort of seize the land back. They planted millions upon millions of those in Chinese elms. So really, really tough tree. Now they've bred one called Sensation. Now Sensation grows like crazy. You can grow yourself a 6-7 metre tree in just 2 or 3 years. It spreads out with lovely horizontal branches, so I often use it where people want to have a tree that they could sit under and have a picnic or something like that, because you've got nice trunk, nice horizontal branches on it. But the reason why they call it Sensation Maple is around the end of January, first week in February, you'll get the first leaves start to turn autumn colour. And then it slowly colours, and it holds its foliage right through till about the end of May, and then it drops. So it's the longest autumn colouring tree, beautiful oranges and golds, really fabulous colour, and it's a big tree. It's a big tree, a big spreading tree. So big spreading tree, fabulous colour for about 4 months.
Sounds pretty sensational to me. All right, next question from Chic. Do we have unique hybrid tree peonies?
Do you know that I'm just getting into them? We're just learning about those myself, and those hybrids we're going to have available, and we're looking at doing a live on those in the next week or so to talk about them. I'm very excited. What it is that these hybrid peonies basically mean that anybody can have a fabulous peony flowers in a pot or in their garden, and I'll be revealing all about those in the next week or so, and we'll have them available this season so that you can get them in your own garden. And peonies are wonderful, but now really there's some new developments that make peonies available to everyone, and they're the new hybrid peonies.
It's very exciting. It's kind of like you read our mind sheet, because we were literally chatting about it in the office actually this morning, because we're trying to plan out our lives so we can get ahead of schedule. So yes, a bit eerie. Maybe you were listening in. All right, next question is from Julie. How to deal with weed and grass growing between tiles without using pesticides?
Well, it's herbicides that pesticides are for insects.
Oh.
Yeah, so what you can do is use herbicides. But look, first of all, I'm going to put in a plug for glyphosate or Roundup. Basically, glyphosate or Roundup neutralizes when it hits organic matter or it hits the ground. The calcium in that organic matter or ground neutralizes it and just turns it into some salty substance. It's no longer toxic. And there's a lot of people that would disagree with me with that, but basically, when I was a kid, my dad used to use all sorts of hideous chemicals for killing weeds, and I think that Roundup is the best thing around for as a herbicide for killing weeds. But other things are like boiling water. You can put on boiling water, and that can really have a pretty hard effect on them. And the other thing that when I was very young, many years ago, what was popular for, say, killing weeds where there was like on a driveway where there was no other plants that you needed to protect, we used to use a fine coating of kerosene. And kerosene, basically it evaporates and doesn't leave much residue behind. But basically I think my favourite sort of natural way of getting rid of weeds is to hoe them out. But I mean, that could be difficult between tyres, so you'd be down to boiling water. And the other thing, when I was a kid, the other thing we used to have for killing weeds, which we loved, was our flamethrower. And
I don't know if we'd recommend that, quite OHS, but
yeah, so yeah,
off the books maybe, off the record.
I was brought up in a nursery, and the constant battle was weeds, and so my dad used, and I remember I heard this roaring sound out the back of the house. I went round to see what my dad was doing, and he had this flamethrower. We just fell in love with it, and that we used to use that and go and burn all the weeds off.
Effective.
Yeah, very effective. And we used to use, our dad would use all different hideous sprays, and then we'd also use your power kerosene. And
sounds like you've been at war with the weeds for a while.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the next question from Kez. What natural ingredient would you recommend for soil water retention?
Soil water retention. So what holds water that's natural? Well, actually, say for instance you've got hard clay, you need the water to go in. So sort of fine gravel or sand, sort of sandy materials will help the water go in, and then you'd like the water to stay there. So peat or coir peat, your coconut peat, or your pine bark, your crushed fine pine bark is organic matter which will hold moisture well. So there's two things you want to do. One is you want to get the water in there, and what helps you get the water in there is fine sands and gravels. And so sandy loam would be a good, cheap, easy way of getting water into the ground. So mixing in sandy loam, and then the next thing you want to do is hold the water, and it's organic matter. So actually, when I think about it, compost. So if you've got a compost heap, that compost material will hold water better than other soils and that. Then there's coir peat, or there's real peat, which you can buy your New Zealand peat, or there's fine crushed rotted down pine bark, and most people's easy access to that would be a potting mix. Like we have one here called Nature's Soil. It really doesn't have much sand or anything in it. It's pretty much all, it's really a mixture of pine bark and coir peat. So it's got lots of that sort of that material in it. So I guess look at it in two ways. One is you want to get the water in. Two, you want to keep the water in. So they're the two things that you can use.
Yeah. All right. Next question is Ocean Crest. What is a good evergreen flowering small tree, about 4 or 5 meters, or a shrub for the pool yard, full sun, and well draining?
Okay. So a fabulous red flower would be your Callistemon slim. What's great about a Callistemon slim is that the branches are all sort of compressed and tightly compact into a narrow tree, so that when it flowers, it has a much more intense blaze of red than most other Callistemons. But as I mentioned before, Escallonia are great because they flower really from mid-spring till mid-autumn, and you can get pink ones and white ones, and they'll sort of hit those sizes that you're after with really nice long flowering. So Escallonia, Callistemon, nice and long flowering.
Yep, great. All right, next question is from R. Billing. Do we have jade plants?
Yeah, and it's interesting. We have we probably have half a dozen varieties of jade here. We don't really have them named or organised on the web, which is something that we really should do, but we have quite a few different jade plants, and I love jade plants as a pot plant because they're the sort of thing that, say if you're the sort of person that goes off for a week or two at a time and you want something nice out on the deck, and maybe it's a hot windy deck or something like that, you can plant them in a pot, you can give them a drink before you go away, you can go away for 2 or 3 weeks and come back in the heat of summer and they still look fabulous. They're probably the most forgiving pot plant you can have.
Love the sound of that. All right, next question's from Dino. I want to repot a shrub type rose. What's the best time of year to do it? It's a 100-year-old heirloom. Damn.
Wow.
Definitely want to be careful with that.
Yeah, I would do it now.
Okay.
Right now. And what I would do is I'd carefully remove all the old soil. I'd get some potting mix. I'd probably mix a nice big handful of dolomite lime through my potting mix, and I'd pop it in and don't give it any Osmocote for about a month.
Okay. I just want to check with admin. Normally this is around the time we wrap up, but we have so many questions still. Are we good to go for another 10 minutes or do we want to? Okay, let's go for another 10 minutes. Yeah, loving the questions, guys. Here's a really, really good question that I think is going to resonate with a lot of people watching right now. It's from Jackson. So I want to start gardening in the backyard, but I don't know where to start from planting to reseeding the grass. So let's say you've complete beginner, you want to get into gardening. What should we be doing, especially in regards to like seeding the grass, planting, all that sort of stuff, Chris?
Okay, so lots of people have been complaining to me about their grass and saying, oh look, I want to tear it all up and re-turf it and things like that. And depending on basically tearing up an old lawn and turfing it is a massive job. And
sorry, we're just having some technical issues on the mic. We just want to check to make sure it's working. Looks like my mic is fine. Can everyone hear me okay there on TikTok? Sorry everyone, just having some technical problems.
How about mine?
I think it's your mic that is the problem.
Right.
Yeah. So I think, thanks for pointing that out to us, by the way. Yeah, sorry, we didn't notice.
Hello.
Yeah, it should be working now.
All right.
Okay.
Has that solved everyone's sound issue? If there's still a problem, please let us know. All right. Sorry, Chris, let's pick it up where you were chatting. Okay, cool, we can hear you. Perfect.
What was the question again?
We were talking about getting into gardening and not knowing where to start.
Okay, so I think what I've been saying to people is they haven't got a giant budget and they haven't got an amazing amount of manpower. What I'd be inclined to do at the moment is I'd be inclined to mow the lawn, rake some good soil over mow it nice and short, rake some good soil over the top of it and get some seed, and in that seed I'd make sure that there was a good percentage of annual rye. So you have annual rye, and you have an annual rye will pop up and turn it green immediately. Annual rye will germinate in really cold soil conditions. So I'd mix in the annual rye and some other seed, and I would rake it out, level it out nicely, just with a thin layer of soil and a bit deeper in the holes, and then I would reseed it. And now's a great time to get a bit of seed going. I would, as that seed moved away, I'd sprinkle a bit of hard fertilizer over it, so a bit of lawn food on it, and when I started, and then it'll all spring up and grow very quickly. And then what I'd do is I'd put my mower up nice and high, and I'd start mowing it. And what it is that with that way, depending on the size of your lawn, really just for a very few dollars and a very little amount of work, you could have, for spring, you could have a fabulous lush green even lawn. And then where I think most people go wrong with their lawn is nobody really enjoys getting out there with the lawnmower. So what they do is they think, gee, I don't want to come out here for another month. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that grass really low. And when you cut the grass really low, it's like punching the lawn. You're knocking it around. And so so if you want your lawn to be fabulous, mow more often and mow taller. And what happens, nice tall grass has nice deep roots, it grows strongly, it blocks out the weeds, and you'll have more lawn, less weed if you mow up a bit and mow more often. So basically, I would, recapitulating that, I would mow low, top dress with soil, seed, and I would use a mixture of seed that had plenty of annual rye in it to get it up immediately, and then and then I'd fertilise it, and then as it came up and needed mowing, I'd set my mower up nice and high, and I'd mow really high, and I'd mow perhaps once a week, and after, you know, and as we get into spring, you'll have a beautiful, lush, strong lawn through doing that series of things. And that's a great start. And then the other thing for starting out gardening, what I think you should do is you should have fun, and I think you should do things that are easy. And I mean, you could just pop in here and see me, and like we've got all of these tubes out the front, you know, great big tubes that are really, really cheap, you know, as nurseries go, and get some things that are real easy to grow. We've got bare rooted trees, and some of them just grow like weeds. So if you come, and I think the important thing when you're starting out gardening is to have a win. And I love to give people starting out gardening, I like to give them a win. So if somebody comes to me and they say, look, I'm starting out gardening, I'll take you for a walk around the nursery and I'll show you things that are kind of cheap so that if they die, you're not too worried about it. And things that would grow easily and things that will basically give you a win. And what happens is that if you plant some things that are real easy to grow that give you a win and get them all started and going, all of a sudden your confidence comes up and you have this idea that you can grow plants, and then you can come into the nursery and buy the more unusual, the more sophisticated, and basically your confidence will come up and up and up. So the thing is to start off easy and work your way up and give yourself a win, and don't bite off too much of that. You know, really have fun with it, and don't sort of try anything too hard, too big or too difficult to get you started. Sort of have a series of wins, and all of a sudden you'll become this confident gardener, and other people will be asking you how you did it.
Exactly. Best of luck, Jackson. Can't wait to hear all about it. All right. Next question is from Mary. We have a 4-story apartment being built behind us. Can you suggest fast-growing bushy trees? Roots are not a problem, deep block, but only 15 metres wide.
Okay, I'm going to say something that I often say to people that people don't really like, but it's hard to beat your Glauca pencil pine, and because what it is that your Glauca pencil pine grows 9 metres tall, but it only grows 1 metre wide. So if you planted 50, what I would do is I would cultivate across the back of my block, and I would plant Glauca pencil pines, and I'd put them in 1 metre apart, and you'll be amazed if they're watered and fertilised. You'll be amazed how quickly they get up 9 metres, and 9 metres is going to make a real impact on that four-story building. And the thing is that if you were to plant, there's lots of trees, like you could plant a ficus or something like that, but then one day somebody might say, look, you've got to prune your ficus. And if you've got to go up 5 or 6 or 7 metres in the air, someone's going to charge you a fortune to get access and get up really tall. And the beauty of the Glauca pencil pine, where you're going up really, really tall, is that it's not as sexy looking as, say, your weeping lily pilly or your ficus, but it doesn't need that high trimming, and it's never going to cost you a fortune. It's never going to be a big problem for you, and it's going to do the job. And what's interesting about Glauca pencil pines is that well watered and fertilised, they'll grow 1.5 metres a year. So if you were say you bought some that were 2 metres tall, a year from now you could have them up 3.5 metres. Another year they could be up 5 metres. Another year they could be up 6.5. Another, you know, so it's only a couple of years. So not too long, and down the track there's not too much maintenance or too much to worry about.
Love it. All right, we're only going to answer 2 more questions just because we have already run over time. But we do these live Q&As every Monday, so sorry if we didn't get to your question today, but please come to our next Monday live Q&A. If it's anything urgent or you want it answered before Monday, just shoot us through an email, call us, even come in store, anything like that. So, second last question today is going to be from Serena. So they're hard of hearing, so they're going to watch it later tonight. Maybe if we could even drop a comment below admin about responding to what Chris is about to say, just so they can really understand what is being said. So they have 2 butternut squash growing, and they have been pollinated as of 3 to 4 days ago. When should they be ready for harvest? So it's been 3 to 4 days since pollination. How long should it be before the butternut squash on a bush butternut squash plant is ready for harvest?
3 to 4 months.
Okay, can we chat that in on the reply? Yep, 3 to 4 months, Serena. And our very last question, all right, let me have a look. What do I want to ask? Let's do Sunil. All right, we want to have a small tree in our small backyard as close as possible towards the fence, but we do not want its roots to affect the fences. Can you please recommend any, and what size would that be?
I think I would look at a Japanese maple. I've got quite a few different ones, and but say you went for a Senkaki maple, and what I've noticed is I used to go around digging up trees, you know, before there were many advanced tree nurseries around, and I would dig up trees from gardens and things like that. And what I found is that Japanese maples, even at quite large sizes, don't have that much root. So Japanese maple, relative to size, has less roots than most other trees and would be one of the safest trees. And you could get your Senkaki maple has red stems and sort of bright pale green foliage, or you might go for something like an Emperor One, which has beautiful purple leaves in spring, summer and autumn, and then amazing crimson autumn colour. So something like an Emperor One or a Senkaki maple would be quite hardy, easy to grow and very, very safe.
Amazing, and that does it for the rest of our live Q&A. Sorry about all the background noise. Thank you everyone for coming. We had such a great turnout today. It's so wonderful to get all these questions and to help all of you out, become the best gardeners possible, have the best garden possible. So thank you everyone for coming. Do stay tuned for our live tomorrow. It's going to be very exciting, solving some garden design problems so that you can be designing your own professional, beautiful garden in no time. So yeah, hope the rest of your Monday is lovely, and we will see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
In the morning sun, where the flowers bloom, colors burst like a painter's dream come true. Roses red and violets blue, every petal whispers something new. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Indoor greens and outdoor scenes, design your space, let your garden dreams glide. Personal touch with our garden design, free sessions to blend within your budget line. From tiny seeds to trees so grand, every leaf and bird, it's all at hand. Hello, hello plant, welcome to the show, where every flower tells a story. Watch them grow. Hello, hello plant, in every shade and hue, for every heart and every hand, we've got something for you. Now everybody, let's say hello, 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 hello.